Savannah Guthrie. Live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
There's a lot of pain when you lose someone in your immediate family, and a lot of just trying to figure out. And we'd have, like, in those early years, like, we were teenagers.
Yeah.
My brother was in his 20s. My mom had to go back to work. She took care of her mother and my Uncle Pierce, who had Down syndrome. They moved in. I mean, the amount of stress that my mother had to take on. She was 46 years old when my father died.
Holy moly.
The word I use to describe my mom is noble. She's strong, like hard iron and granite strong. It is my mom's 80th birthday, and I'm hoping this gives her a boost. My mom, Nancy Guthrie, was born this day. Nancy Ellen Long, 1942 in Fort Wright, Kentucky, carrying that family trait of round cheeks and curly hair and blue eyes that continues to this day. She's lived a life of integrity and loyalty. She is a consistent doer of the right thing and the hard thing. She's a truth teller, whether you really want to hear the truth or not. She's quick and she's smart, she's well-read, she's curious about everything, she's daring and adventurous. She's willing to jet off anywhere, and I really do mean jet. She once got in an F-16 for a ride. She has met unthinkable challenges in her life with grit, without self-pity, with determination, and always, always with unshakable faith. She loves us, her family, fiercely, and her selflessness and sacrifice for us, her steadfastness and her unmovable confidence is the reason any of us grew up to do anything. She's going to be embarrassed by this, but I hope a little pleased, because when I think of her, I think of that old proverb, the one she taught me about the woman of noble character. It says, her children will rise up and call her blessed. And so we do. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday.
And I believe her. My mom, she's a truth teller, so she doesn't BS, if I guess I can say that. Sorry, Mom. And when I was in my 30s and wasn't sure I would ever have kids, she said, of course you will, honey.
Nancy,
of course you will have your family.
Wow.
Nancy's also a woman of great faith.
She is.
And the conversations I've had with her, she always talks about that.
She is. She's an inspiration.
Beautiful.
Happy 80th, Nancy.
Yeah,
Guthrie.
happy 80th, Mama. Thanks, Today's Show, for letting me do
To our
that.
kitchen.
Oh, yes.
One I know well, my mom, Nancy Guthrie, and she is here to share one of her famous dinners: fried chicken, spoon bread, Kentucky Wonders or green beans, and red applesauce. Hi, Mom.
Hi.
You ready to cook?
I'm ready.
This is something I really remember you making all during our growing up.
Oh, yes, but it was on a special occasion.
Because it takes time.
Oh, it takes all day.
Okay. So this won't be one of those easy at-home recipes.
No.
Okay, tell me about what we have.
Not very healthy either.
Okay, that's fine. Not healthy and not easy.
Protective. The word I use to describe my mom is noble. She's strong, like hard iron and granite strong. We had some hard times when I was a child. You know, we lost my dad suddenly and shockingly, and my mom was so strong and set aside her own grief in many ways just to be there and make sure that we could all move forward together. And I think that's the other thing I'd like to say about my mom. The greatest gift my mother gave me was faith and belief in God. It changed my whole life. When I was in my 30s, I really wished to be married and be a mom, and things just did not happen that fast for me. And my mom's confidence that one day I would be a mom, even as the years ticked by and ticked by and ticked by, meant so much to me. She said, of course you'll be a mom, Savannah. You are going to be a mom, and you are going to be a wonderful mom. And for her to have that confidence and faith was so meaningful to me. It got me through really hard times. My sister has the best line in the whole book, which is that God was the sixth member of our family. There were 5 of us, but as my sister Annie says it, God was the sixth. Even as a little girl, I was always in a conversation with God. And for most of my life, actually, faith has always been so important to me. When I was 16, my father passed away unexpectedly. I came home on a Friday night, having been out with friends as a teenager, walked in the door and learned that my father had died. I was really, really struggling, and I felt so alone and kind of forgotten. And I remember one day sitting there on my bed, crying and saying, rescue me, God, rescue me. And I remember hearing deep inside me, I am rescuing you. And it actually took me years to really understand what I think God was saying. What he was really saying was, these hard times, this pain, this is your path. So you won't stay here forever. And as hard as it is, this is the way out. This is my rescue.
Live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
I had my first day at the Today Show in the main anchor job. And I was so nervous and terrified and excited and thrilled, but mostly afraid and terrified. In case you need any proof that when you're stressed out, it will manifest in your body, I came down with a blinding migraine. Not only did my head hurt, when I have migraines, I can't see. Part of my vision is cut out. I had no idea how on earth I was gonna get out there and say good morning. And somehow I came out there at 7 o'clock and did the show. I got married and I got to have my 2 kids. It was the most exquisite joy I could ever imagine. I came to understand that parenthood is God's greatest metaphor. I look at my kids and I think about how I love them and how they delight me and how much I enjoy them.
You were so scared to do this, weren't you?
Yes, I was. It's a good thing I had Hoda telling me every day, you're doing it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
You were so amazing and supportive for me. But I was scared, you know,
Yeah.
I am scared, but I also felt like I just had something good to say about God and I wanted to say it. You know, people have asked me like, oh, did you feel like you had to do it or you should do it or maybe you owed God something because you've had so many blessings in your life? It's like, no, I did it because I wanted to do it, because God made me want to do it.
By the way, there's a great picture of you on the front. I know we haven't been showing it, but
Oh.
it's you. It really
Aw,
is.
well, I didn't want to be on the cover.
Look,
so
she
then
begged
they-
not to be on it, so she only allowed a sleeve.
At a Today Show anchor's holiday party, that really was 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Pebble Bar. Look at us. There's already
no line.
No, it's already real shiny situation. Who do you think stayed out the latest that night? Like, who do you think?
I mean, she's a Texas girl. I'm gonna say Jenna.
Yes, it was Jenna. Who do you?
That's
So we
not
had
me.
we had a crazy night. Me, Chanel, Dylan.
That's a fun crew.
And Jenna were the last
Yeah.
to leave. It was a very short start. My first job in local news was in Butte, Montana. I went to school in Arizona and
Yeah.
I graduated and I got this job in Butte, Montana, which was the tiniest local news market you could go to in the country. I had never lived even away from home. I lived at home in college.
Yeah.
And I went up there.
That's a different kind of weather as well.
Everything. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to drive in the snow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from the desert. But anyway, I went there, I worked there 10 days, and they closed the station.
Sure.
Crushing, because I was like, Butte, Montana, I have arrived. Like, I'm gonna be the next Diane Sawyer. And they're like, here's actually what's gonna happen. We're closing. You gotta go back home. Yes, it was very, very.
That's horrible.
I know. It was a lot. But, well, it's so funny when I go back and look at, I try not to go back and look at my local news days because for starters, just the hair.
Yeah.
Like the hair, well, okay.
There's
I
nothing
know.
wrong with that hair.
By
that
the
was
way,
in the times.
That was a good hair day.
Yeah,
okay?
that was-
That's my natural hair color, by the way. I'm trying so hard to be grown up. I mean, I was like 21 years old, and I wanted to have that newscaster voice. I didn't want to sound the way I sound. I can't do this act anymore. I have
Yeah.
to just be me because I can't.
No,
we do cover the news, and
Yeah.
the news can break your heart, and especially early in the morning. You know, you wake up, and I think you don't have to be the host of the Today Show to know what that feels like, where you open your phone and you feel like you're bombarded by these
Yeah, but-
headlines. Certainly, like when I was a teenager, my father passed away when I was 16 years old, and it was really hard, and it's very, it was a shock. One of
Yeah.
those things that kind of changes your whole life, changes your whole personality, changes
Yeah.
your family.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm no expert or anything. I'm not a biblical scholar. I didn't go to seminary or anything, but
Yeah.
I'm just a regular person who has lived a life of ups and downs and disappointments, mostly with myself, and setbacks. And faith has been the thing that's really carried me. And I just felt like I had something good I wanted to say about God. Because you know, Hoda, how low energy and lazy I really am. I'm the opposite of you. I'm the opposite of Jenna. Y'all have 16 jobs. You have a podcast. You have a production company, this, that. I'm not. I go home, I take a nap, and then I hang out with my kids, and that's it. The metaphor is not just for the physical space, but I would say decades and arguably still trying to figure out, how do we be a family without him? How do we be a family of 4? There's a lot of pain when you lose someone in your immediate family, and a lot of just trying to figure out. And we'd have, like, in those early years, like, we were teenagers.
Yeah.
My brother was in his 20s. My mom had to go back to work. She took care of her mother and my Uncle Pierce, who had Down syndrome. They moved in. I mean, the amount of stress that my mother had to take on. She was 46 years old when my
Holy
father
moly.
died.
Holy moly.
when I think about that now. Anyway, you know, you'd have like years of like, we get a knockdown, drag out, like emotional fights about this or that. And at one point, I just realized, oh my gosh, we're just trying to figure out how to be a family without him. Every day, I do things I shouldn't do. Every day, I say things I shouldn't say. Every day, I think things I shouldn't think. Every day. So where would I be if I didn't believe in God?
I think you just spewed out a couple extra chapters. No, there are a couple of extra chapters.
You're like, that is not in the book.
Oh my God, this is unbelievable. Oh, okay, but wait, hold on, hold on. No, there are more. You just literally had.
But do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It makes sense.
Yes,
it actually makes far more sense than sitting around being like, I'm a boss bitch.
Yes, because
like,
yes,
yeah, no, you're not, and you know you're not. So stop trying to tell yourself that you're so great when you actually know, because you're living it. But that doesn't mean you're horrible.
Yeah.
But you are kind of horrible, and that's okay too. Always been blabby. I've always had a big mouth. Always like to speak. Like to hear myself talk. Like to write. Like to communicate. So that kind of tracks.
Yes.
A funny thing that I maybe never really talked about, but often think about, is I grew up really as quite an unattractive child. Chubby and messy hair. I wasn't a pretty girl. Boys never liked me. All that kind of stuff. What am I trying, or what was I trying? What affirmation was I trying to get by pursuing a career on television?
Yeah.
Like if someone would put me on TV, did that mean I couldn't? I wasn't really that ugly girl, anymore. And I think it reminded me when you said that, because there is a way that our career choices can be an answer to or a solve for a little problem we've been carrying all our lives. You sit with me every day.
Yeah.
Do I look in the mirror and go, God, I look great today?
I don't think either of us has ever said that.
No.
Not
What
once.
I actually think is, oh my gosh, it's actually terrible for me. It's the worst thing I could have done, because then I just feel terrible about myself, and I'm like, oh, I look fat, and this, that, and the other. And so it's actually not been great for me, but it's interesting to me, I guess. This is sort of a tangent. I don't think it leads to anywhere. Than it leads nowhere. But other than it's just kind of interesting. Like I think we do respond to things from our childhood,
really
our
profound.
Insecurities,
Yeah.
or a need that we are not getting met, that we think we could get met via this particular career.
You speak.
Stay on God's good side. I don't want to say I'm a goody-goody, because somebody's got pictures of me like holding the six-pack or smoking the cigs or doing this, kissing the boy you just met 10 minutes ago at the bar. Like, I wasn't that good, okay? But I had a kind of goody-goody mentality, and I was always wanting the fairy tale and wanting to kind of live up to these rigorous moral standards, failing all the time, but holding them and believing still that I could have this kind of fairy tale life, get married and have kids. And my kids would all play music, and we would sing rounds, and we'd go to church on Sunday. And I had this whole vision.
Yeah.
When I got married and then I got divorced, a thing I thought would never happen to me, that I would never allow to happen to me. I mean, I used to say things such as, you shouldn't get married if divorce is in your vocabulary.
You said that?
I said that when I was 20 and stupid and had been going to too much church in the 80s. Like that was the kind of thing that I thought. Like I had all these like, I wasn't really acting super morally, but I knew what I knew where the bar was. I had the ideals, and I was planning and hoping to more or less live up to them. And when I got divorced, it was so concrete. You are a divorced person. And there's no reframing of that you can do. You can't sugarcoat it. Yeah. You can't bring all of whatever communication gifts you have to sugarcoat it, make it seem better. It happened.
Yeah.
You failed. In my mind, I felt I was damaged goods, irreversibly, had ruined my life. I knew it. I didn't think it. I knew it. And that's when you start there, God's like, all right, now we can talk. Favor. That's lovely that you thought you could earn your salvation. Oh, no. It's here because I love you.
Right.
I love you whether you're divorced or not. I love you whether you sin or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't like sin either. There's a whole theological thing here.
We're so excited. We're expecting a baby in December.
Question.
Yes.
Joel and I went to dinner with you and Mike.
Yes, a couple weeks ago.
We all had wine,
Yes.
and I noticed that your glass wasn't going down.
Yes.
But I thought maybe you just weren't in the mood.
No, I'm always in the mood, Hoda. You know, yes. I've been fake drinking for some time now. We're so thrilled and excited. Yeah. I have a shot of my mom when I told her, Vale and I FaceTimed her. She said I could use that. I think I called her at like 4 in the morning in Arizona.